শুক্রিয়া। এতিয়া শহীদ আনোয়ার ইংরাজী বিভাগের একজন ছাত্র শহীদ আনোয়ারে ইংরাজী ভাষাত বক্তব্য পেশ করিব। শহীদ আনোয়ার।
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد. Honorable President of Jamia, respected teachers, and my beloved fellow citizens. First of all, I wish you a very happy 79th Independence Day. In this gathering, I will shed some light on the sacrifices of Indian Muslims for freeing India from the clutches of the English. Dear audience, the onslaught of Europe on India started with the Portuguese pirates in 17th century. But it was heightened when the English, disguised as traders, established bases with an eye on India's wealth and land. Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlavi 1703 to 1762 was the first person who apprehended the danger. He charted out a plan, complete revolution. Shah Waliullah's various books reflect his thought and propound a complete framework. Shah Waliullah is the front runner of this field. Later his sons and pupils forwarded his mission. Meanwhile, the company began to expand its area. It resulted in a fierce fight between the company and Siraj-ud-Dawla policy in Bengal in 1757. Siraj-ud-Dawla was defeated and the door was opened for Britain to occupy Bengal. Afterwards, Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan stood up to stop English estates in southern India. But this campaign suffered a major setback due to internal treachery and Tipu was martyred fighting in Sarangapatam. The Mughal king in Delhi was forcibly asked to sign a treaty that read, "The people for Allah, the country for King His Majesty, and the order for the company." Meanwhile, Shah Abdul Aziz 1746 to 1823, who was observing the situation, very carefully issued a fatwa saying that India is turned into a Darul Harb country. Muslims must wage war against the British, but the ground was not prepared to start any revolutionary movement. So Sayyid Ahmad Shahid, a disciple of Shah Abdul Aziz, with his companions migrated to Kandahar in Afghanistan in search of a land from where he can run a revolutionary movement. Unfortunately, the greatest militant movement of this subcontinent suffered sedition of Afghans and finally collapsed. The remaining people, especially the ulama Sadipur, continued their mission inside India. Dear listeners, the sparks of hate and anger against the English burst again in 1857. This time it was not a mutiny of a group, but a mass revolt against the English throughout the country. In Shamri, Indians revolted in the leadership of Haji Imdadullah while they were fighting in Lucknow and Faizabad under the command of Begum Nawab and Maulana Ahmadullah. Meerut in Delhi was a center where Indian army men were fighting for Sultan Bahadur Shah Zafar. The continued revolt continued for months, but the Indians were defeated in the long run. It is noteworthy that the caravan of freedom was purely by Muslims till 1857. Since the power was snaked, so they were naturally the first enemies of the alien government. According to historian, 77,000 Muslims who were only hanged to death. Shah Zafar was exiled to Rangoon and his descendants were finished off. After the failure of 1857 revolution, the Muslim leaders changed their strategy. They started setting up educational institutions across the country to combat the disastrous British policies. On the foremost of Maulana Muhammad Qasim Naufli and his colleagues, who could fight, who established Darul Ulum in Dewan to produce a team of ulama who could fight eyeball to eyeball with the British government. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Mahatma Gandhi, Bhagat Singh, Maulana Hussain Ahmed Madani, and Maulana Ubaidullah Sindhi, and many others were great freedom fighters who fought against the British for freeing India from the clutches of the English. The first student of Darul Ulum Dewan, Maulana Mahmud Hassan, known as Sheikhul Hind, charged out a plan known as Reshmi Rumal movement. Sheikhul Hind had a secret agreement with Ottoman Caliphate of Turkey to attack on British bases in India and prepare ground for revolt. But this plan also was sabotaged. Consequently, he was arrested and sent to Malta Island. Around 1919, Jamia Assam came into being to provide Muslims a platform to fight against the British. Dear intellectuals, one of the most valiant Muslim freedom fighters, Ashfaqullah Khan, was not only a revolutionary but also a poet and a true patriot. As an active member of the Hindustan Republican Association, he played a significant role in challenging British rule. His participation in the historic Kakori train of 1975 marked his fearless resistance. He laid down his life at a young age and unwavering courage and in the end a steadfast commitment to India's freedom continued to inspire generations. Dear audience, these are some brief extracts from the history of freedom. Otherwise, the sacrifices that Muslims have offered to free India from the British slavery can't be described in a short speech. The purpose to mention these sacrifices is to remind you our brave past. Since it is said that a nation which fails to treasure its history is lost in the darkness of time, such a nation has nothing that inspires it to face new threats with courage and determination. May Allah keep Muslims of India safe and may India be the most peaceful place in the world. Hindustan Zindabad.